Well, hi everybody. Sorry we're a few minutes late. This has been a day of technical difficulties, I tell you. Was Mercury still retrograde? What's going on? So if you're watching now or later, say hi. Like drop some hearts or just say hi. Let us know that you're watching. Um, yeah, it's been an interesting day and have some really great news. Okay, I see people joining. Hi, Maria. I see a few people saying on it. It's just been a very crazy, technically interesting day, and uh, like I said, I don't know if Mercury's retrograde or not, and if it isn't, it should be because it's been some really wild things. Hi, Patricia, and so I want to start with some great news, and we're going to go right into the subject of today's uh, today's Tues Tuesday event here. And so, because Alan's saying we want you to know you heard it first here. So we just got off a call with our publisher's coordinator. I would say she kind of helps coordinate things for a book. It had a really great talk, and we have a launch date for the book. It's not going to be the end of the year. I think it'll be even better because we're launching the book officially on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day. And she and I were so thrilled to find out that on their calendar, my publisher's calendar, that date was open. So we got it, and she was really excited. We're really excited. So even though we're not going to be able to bring the book to you by the end of the year, we're going to bring it to you on Valentine's Day, which is a Tuesday. That's when everything's going to launch. And so we're excited. Like she was so happy. She can't wait to see the book come out. And so, same here for us, of course. So just want to let you guys know that first. So the book's coming out, yeah, December 14th. We'll be on podcasts before Valentine's Day. They arranged that for me. So there'll be 6 podcasts I'll be featured on. I'll let you guys know when we're on it. So if you want to show up and listen or listen later. So we're excited about that. So that's there. Like, but as far as just okay, we're just going to regroup here. As far as the subject tonight about fear, and you might have read my post or the little graphic I made about fear is a distortion, because really the unlimited you, the soul that you are, know there's nothing to fear. But when you're in a body, yeah, you're facing a lot of contrast in this reality of light and dark and apparently good and evil, although there isn't any such thing as evil, the illusion of evil. So yes, so we have the illusion of fear that we fall into, and it does affect how we perceive the other side. So if you have carrying a lot of fear about it, and some of you might be carrying it through your ancestral lineage, so it may not be you consciously yourself, but through your family, can go back generations, because the reality is that humanity has always been intuitive, has always been spiritual, has always been able to connect with the other side from the beginning of time. There's always been people who had the more, I don't want to say people that had the gift, because everybody has the gift. It's just some people had it more strongly, and couldn't even maybe control it because it was so strong. So they had to go with it. And those people quite often got into trouble. You get in trouble if you can see, hear, and know the truth, and other people around you, the powers that be, don't want you to see, know, or hear the truth. You're going to get yourself in trouble. So many of us through other lifetimes have been in trouble of some sort because of our abilities. And so that's where that fear comes in, right? Or our ancestors, like I said, your grandmother, great grandmother, your aunts, great aunts, whatever, all through your lineage. My grandmother was a psychic medium who actually was able to look at somebody's hand. I don't know if I wouldn't say she was a palmist, but she could look at someone's hand, and she did this rather intrusively, actually, she would do this and she could tell them when they're going to die. Talk about fear. She could look at their palm of their hand and tell them when they're going to die. And she did this to some of the soldiers that came into her grocery shop in Hanapepe, Kauai before the war. I don't think she did it after the war started, but there was already military presence in Hawaiian Islands, as you know, before World War II broke out. So there they would come into her grocery store because she happened to own a store that was right across from the theater. My grandmother was an entrepreneur as well as a medium. She says that's where I get it from. She said to me, so she would look at their hand and tell them when they're going to die. And she would find out later, I guess by their friends who'd come back after being deployed or what have you. She'd find out that she was right. Now, I don't know whether she actually programmed that to happen because that's a possibility. If somebody tells you you're going to die, you might just really, allow that to happen, right? So I don't know there, but my aunt, who was the oldest, who was observing her mother, because there were 9 kids in the family. My aunt was the one who saw all the other kids come through, and she was one who kind of was the second mother. So she saw all these things happen, and she said, yes, grandma was very psychic, and yes, she knew things about a lot of people. She could foretell the future, and she would channel, she would know, she would get the download, she had the information. So as you can see, those gifts, there you can both be revered and actually feared. So there were people in her community because she would read for people there in Hanapepe, and she became known for that. So she was loved and also feared. So see, there's a dual-edged sword here, right? Like you have these abilities and they get you attention. Sometimes attention is unwanted. People either, okay, Alan's saying to me, it can be really polarizing, where people, again, either really respect you and even maybe even worship you, which is really distorted, or they're terrified of you. Terrified because you have these abilities that you could see into them and they don't want to be seen, or you'll know when they're lying. So we want to clean that up. We want to clean that up if that's in your past life history, if it's in your family lineage. So we're going to do that today in a bit. But I just wanted to talk about that. But first, before we go into that, I want to talk about fear in general, because fear is not something only, related to the other side, obviously. Although the other side, there's so much drama about it, all the movies and TV shows that make it out to be so spooky. And as Alan and I know, and I think many of you know by now too, the other side is not what we should be afraid of. It's the living we should be afraid of, because they're the ones that are walking around distorted and confused and doing God knows what they're doing, right? So you don't have to fear the other side. You really don't have to. They're there, they're coexisting with us, living side by side with us. Some people do see them, like my son's girlfriend, who I had a really interesting talk with the other night when they came over to watch movie. We have movie night on Sunday, and we watched Elvis. And afterwards, she and I were talking, and she sees spirit, and sometimes she doesn't like to, so she'll tell them, "I don't want to see you. I don't mind hearing you, but I don't want to see you." But she'll see them, and yeah, when she was a little kid, it scared her until her family, grandmother, grandfather, who all could see spirit too, they'd say, "No, that's just your relatives. That's just your relatives." But they still come, and she sees them, and she's used to them. But it is unnerving when you're a little kid and you don't know, like, why do I see this person, like, half of their body walk across the room just from their knees down or something. She'd see their legs and the shoes and kind of translucent, see-through, but see them clearly walking across the room into a wall. And she finally understood, all right, they're here, they're all around us, that's fine. She's not scared of them. In fact, she's about to start a podcast. She wants to tell these 2 ghost stories. I think it's so funny for someone who doesn't want to see spirit, and she's going to have a podcast and share ghost stories. I told her, "You do know you're gonna manifest some of those ghosts coming through." She was like, "Okay, fine." She'll deal with it. But you can see where some people are really sensitive and they've seen things like this, and maybe when they're little, they just freaked out or didn't know what to do with it. Others had parents or family like her, she did, who understood and told her, "It's okay. It's just grandma and grandpa, or it's your uncle and auntie. Like, don't worry about it. They just walk through the house or they congregate in the kitchen sometimes." And that's just how it is. So we just want to clear all that for you so that if you're wanting to reach through the veil to connect with a loved one, whether it's your beloved partner or if some of you here are here for connecting with a parent or child or friend even, that you don't have any of that, that you're not afraid of that, that you're not afraid of what you can't see. I think that's where it comes from. She and I were talking about why, for example, why we're a bit afraid of clowns of all things, right? Like clowns or people. It comes back to you don't know what's under the clown mask of the face. Like who's that really? Or someone who's wearing a mask. Who are they really? So we're afraid of the unknown. We're not afraid of what we can see. We're afraid of what we can't see because we don't know what we're dealing with. And that's kind of natural and normal. But we wanna let go of that, and fear is something that is there, because we're living in this world of duality, and it can actually be a blessing to us in the sense of if we're feeling afraid of something, we need to go look at it, just step into it. Look at it, what it's trying to tell us. What am I really afraid of? And if we sit with it, we often can find that the fear dissipates. Now, I'm not talking about if you're walking down the street and you see somebody coming at you, that as they get closer, even though the person looked completely normal and nice and harmless, you start to feel something uneasy. Like, what is that? Like, you were feeling fine. Why are you feeling something uneasy? I'm not saying that you should just ignore that and go maybe up to that person, shake their hand, and make them your friend or anything. Just notice what that is and just feel into it. And what do you feel guided to do at that point? Because here's the thing, what I found, okay, in my work and in my own experience. If something like that is happening, somebody's there that, let's just say, has ill intentions. What I've found is I'm guided what to do. I don't necessarily feel the fear. I just guided what to do. And I'll give you an example. Alan's pointing out to me. This is before I met him. And I once was at, like a lot of young people, I'd go to clubs, not a lot, but I'd go to, because I like dancing. A lot of women like to go dancing. We're not there to get a hookup. We just want to go dancing. I was there with my friends and we were out dancing. And it was the last dance of the night, and, in those clubs, like, the guys want to get with some woman, so that's the last call, like, for the last chance for that, right? So they're all trying to score and get some woman to dance with them. So I was sitting there, I was perfectly happy sitting there waiting for my friends. I wasn't worried that I wasn't dancing. But this man approached me, who was actually very handsome, like, well-dressed, really handsome. You would think that I'd go, "Sure, like, sure, I'll dance with you," right? And I heard myself say, "No, thank you," and then he walked away. So, after that, I was really wondering, why did I say that? Why did I say that? I had said yes to other men that night who asked me to dance, and that man, for whatever reason, I said no to. And later, when I really pondered it and asked my guides, they said, "Because it wouldn't have turned out well," that's all they told me. "It wouldn't have turned out well." I said, "Oh, is that why I said no?" Because after I said no, I actually thought, "Oh, wait, maybe I made a mistake," and I went looking for him, and I couldn't find the guy. I couldn't find the guy where he'd gone, and I thought, "This is so weird. Why did I say no to him? He's really good looking and just well and seemed really nice," but I I heard myself say no. So Alan is saying to me that if you're really guided by spirit, you'll know what to do. You'll just be guided what to do. You don't have to feel the fear. The fear is often, He says almost always, 98% of the time, it's gonna be your own bias or preconceived idea, like there's something about that person. Maybe that person reminds you of somebody that you have an issue with, that you didn't trust, and you're not even aware of it. So they remind you of that person, and so you go, "Oh, I don't feel good about this person," or their energy is reminds you of that person. So we don't know why, but we're having that fear response, right? So he's saying to me that fear isn't necessarily guidance because the other side doesn't see that, doesn't guide us that way. They'll more take direct action, like with me, where I just heard myself say no. My impulse was to say no, and I wasn't open psychically. This was before I had my awakening. I wasn't strong psychically. He's saying to me that everybody has this. So they'll do something, go, why did I do that? Do that later they could find out their life was saved or something, because spirit can kind of interject, like give us the impulse. Unless we're really shut down, unless we're really blocked, well, then it's hard. And even then, they can make things happen. Spirit has forced me to slam my foot on the brake for no apparent reason, avoiding a collision. Okay, so I wasn't feeling the fear, like, okay, I'm afraid, I should like slow down. It was a direct intervention, like slam my foot on the brake, and then this car like sped through a stop sign. I would have been slammed into my side of the car, driver's side. I probably would have, he said I would have died because the guy was speeding, came out of nowhere, but put my foot on the brake and he wasn't there yet, and then he ran the stop sign. I'm saying that happens all the time, people. All day, every day. Close calls like that. What is that about? They weren't getting a message, oh, be afraid, slow down, get worried. No, it was, they just acted. They said what they said, did what they did, because the spirit world is already interacting with us benevolently. Now, does it mean bad things don't happen? Bad things, like tragic things, difficult things don't happen, and can't completely explain why, but generally speaking, it's because there's something to learn from that. There's some lesson, need to go through that hardship to grow from. Can't be spared everything, but there's many things that we are spared of because the other side does guide us. So this is what we're encouraging you and really supporting you to do, whether you're trying to reach for reconnecting with a beloved on the other side, or just trying to connect with your guides, or just trying to be more spiritual. It's about leading a guided life. And Al was laughing because he didn't really lead a guided life. I was the one that was guided, and he said, "Thank goodness I was," because he benefited because he just followed along with me. Like I was his guide, I was guiding him, but my guides were guiding me. So I would know what to do, when to do it, and I would just went with it. I'd go, "No, this feels like the thing to do." I didn't overthink it, and I certainly didn't feel much fear at all. After my awakening, I was always guided, and yes, I'd have some difficult things happen, but I wouldn't always default into fear. So let's do some work on this right now, okay? Because we're already, okay. He's saying we're already kind of working with you. We're calling in your guides, your team of angels, guides, higher beings that you are connected to, and we want to remind you that everyone has a team. Your team is unique to you. The guides you have are unique to you. Okay, they're always they're on your side. You are part of that team just as they are part of you. We want you to start understanding that you're not this singular individual. You're always part of a collective. One collective that is your team, and a greater one that, of course, that is all that is, that we're all part of one, the oneness that we all are. So you're not solitary, and you're not living in your space isolated. I hate to break it to you, but nobody's really alone. Impossible. Impossible. You can feel like you're alone. That's how powerful you are. You can feel like you're alone and isolated, but you're never alone. It's just within your own mind. And the minute you kind of shift open from that and go, okay, I'm part of a greater whole, a greater, group, God, if you want to call it that, which is fine, then yeah, okay, I'm part of this the all, the all, and rest in that because that's always going to feel better to you because that's the truth. So when you start thinking that you're all alone, that feels makes you feel pretty shitty, right? Because that's a lie. Something that's a lie is always going to feel terrible. That's your emotional guidance system. Something that feels demoralizing, demeaning, hurtful is a lie. Like if someone calls you a name, what they're saying to you is a lie. And we're not trying to like judge them because somebody who would say something mean to us is themselves, themselves are distorted, or they wouldn't act that way. So we don't have to judge them. We don't have to like them either. But we do need to love them because they're just imperfect like we are, and we can just hear them say what they say and not take it in and realize that they're distorted and reject it. The analogy I like to make is if some crazy person walked past you on the street, looked at you and said, "You're crazy, lady," you wouldn't get offended because you think, well, that person's obviously crazy. Well, that's kind of how it is when people are mean. They're a little bit crazy too. They're distorted. They're not their true higher self in that moment, are they? Anybody who's mean is not in alignment with who they really are. So ignore what they're saying. Like, ignore that. They're off. They're having a bad day. Why take what they're saying seriously? Ignore it. Let it go. Doesn't mean you should continue maybe to be friends with them if that hurt you, but don't take it in and believe it because the quote bad feeling you're having is saying to you that's a lie. What they just said is a lie. It is not the truth. Unfortunately, people have been programmed in our world to think if they feel bad about something that must mean it's true. We have it all backwards. If I feel bad, that means this is right. Like I feel offended. I'm right to be offended. I've got to do something about it. I need to go to war over it. No, no, no. You're getting off track. So let's work on clearing. He's saying to me, let's work on clearing ancestral fear. We're going to go in layers here. Ancestral fear. And what I'd like you to do really is just relax. Like close your eyes. And we're going to, like I said, we're calling in your team. They're here with you, your loved ones on the other side who want to support you, who, by the way, are capable of helping you heal. Since all humans in a body and without a body are healers, they, of course, have the ability to help and heal us, just like we can help and heal each other. They're more unlimited because they know they can do that. We're a little more limited because we don't always believe it. They know they can. So I'd like you to close your eyes and relax. And I want you to imagine, see, or feel as if you're okay. What they're showing me is like this speeding train, like a bullet train. And the train is moving in front of you from your left to the right. Okay. The right, of course, where it's heading is the future. And where it's coming from is the past, the illusion of the past, because there's really no past or future. It all happens right now. So we're just using this as kind of a placeholder, if you will, to say, all right, this is our family lineage. We're going forward in time. We're going backward in time. This train is eternal. It's just moving and connecting us to everyone in our lineage. And I want you to imagine, see, or feel that you can see this train whizzing by you, going so fast, it's a real blur, but you can kind of tell it's a train. And as you look back to the left, your intention is to go back to the origin, back to where it all began, where any distortions around fear of the afterlife, specifically, fear of the supernatural, fear of the unseen world, right? Fear of anything that has to do with the other side, with heaven, with the afterlife, etc. We're going back to the origin. And I want you to imagine that she's showing me an eraser, We're taking this eraser, going back in time, and just wiping all that from the origin forward, going back to that coming forward now, going really quickly, running it through the train that you see moving before you, coming in front of you, and stopping right here in front of you. We don't need to go forward because the future will take care of itself. But we really want to now clear that energy within your being, within your aura, wherever it landed in you. And I want you to imagine, see, or feel that there's some place in you, in your body, where this fear, if you have it, you might not have it, but if you do, where that fear might reside. There's somewhere that your attention goes to, or that you feel like some part of your body that just now feels uncomfortable. Whatever that is, and if you're not sure, it's okay. If you're not sure, then just be in your body, just be aware of it. You're just clearing all that out. And I'm seeing, this is really funny, I'm seeing all these bubbles, like these bubbles, this energy is just like bubbling and circulating and cleansing and clearing everything, just cleaning you out of any fear you have, of what you cannot see, what has been called supernatural, the other world, the underworld, the other side, the mystical, magical. We're clearing all that. And the energy is just working from the top of your head, through your whole body, down to the tips of your toes. Just clearing. These are like, I see them as these golden bubbles. They're just working through you. Okay. So take a deep breath in and just relax into that. You might feel like you're in a bubble bath. That's the image I'm getting. We're all in a bubble bath. Okay. Getting cleansed and cleared. And as this fear of the afterlife starts to dissipate, and it might not all clear right now, it could, but it might not all clear right now, that's okay. As it clears out, we're going to bring in God's perspective on the afterlife, Source's perspective. That God is not some white man, with a beard up above us. God is consciousness, really. So what is consciousness? What is Source's perspective on the afterlife? We want you to hold that perspective, that understanding. So we're asking for you to be downloaded with that. And you might see, feel, or imagine that knowing coming into the crown of your head, your crown chakra. So it goes in and activates through your head, through your third eye, down to your throat chakra, down to your heart chakra, okay, down to all of your chakras. Okay, wow, they're showing me your sacral chakra, yeah, solar plexus, all of them. It's all going really, really fast. And I see your chakras spinning really fast to integrate this. Your energy centers are just taking all the information, updating you, upgrading you. So that you know, what is God, what is Source's perspective on the other side? What is the supernatural really? So that you understand it when you start encountering it, so that you don't automatically, if you have fears, like get triggered by it, that you see it for what it is, that you know what you're experiencing. When and if a loved one appears or does something, gives you a sign or gives you contact of any sort, or talks to you even, that you know what that is and that it's all good and that you're safe, right? Because it's your consciousness, your expanded consciousness, that is your ultimate protection, not cutting cords, not shielding. Those kind of tools are just temporary fixes. No, it's you having a more, I don't want to say enlightened, because we're not necessarily going to achieve that, but we can reach a more enlightened state of consciousness where we know our power, we know our worth, we know who we are. It's knowing who you are that is your ultimate protection. It's not knowing who you are, it's believing in the limited beliefs and the lies about this world and about yourself that actually bring you down, that actually leave you vulnerable. If you truly believe you are impervious to negativity, you are impervious to negativity, and you only will become susceptible to negativity when you fall off of that belief, when you start doubting that belief, when you start questioning. I know because I've been in that state before and been in really deep, let's just say, psychic, I'm saying stuff like psychic shit, like stuff happening that's really intense, and been okay. And I've seen other people the same thing who just knew they were protected. They just knew. And I've also, conversely, been at times in the more in the past when I was like wavering on that and unsure of that. And sure, yeah, then I got kind of hit. But the minute stepped into my belief, just knew to the core of my being, I'm God and nothing can happen to me without my permission. Things just lined up, fell into place, and whatever problem may have been coming from the other side, which is really just a projection of my consciousness, that was taken care of. So, in other words, if you fear demons, you believe there are demons out there trying to get you, well, you're giving power to that. And yes, on some level, they do exist because other people believe in them. We live in a co-created universe. Other people believe in them, or other people maybe even worship them, sad but true. They exist. They do. They don't have to interfere with your reality unless you align with that. And even if you do for a minute, you could change all that. You could just realize, wait a minute, what am I doing? I don't want this crap. I've been under quote psychic attack before. And I heard my higher self come in and say, "Get the hell out of here!" It said, "Get the fuck out of here," and it just like went, because the minute I claimed dominion over my experience, it had no choice; it had to leave. But most people, especially women, are not taught to take charge like that, right? No, we have to be nice, even to a spirit. You have to be nice to everybody. Forget that. Be nice to the people who are nice. Stand up for yourself if you're being pushed around, and not coming from fear, just coming from, hey, I don't need this. Get out of here. Like, leave me alone. It's okay to say that. Anger in that case is healthy because it means your boundaries are being crossed. So if your anger comes up, it can be like a red flag, like warning, warning, warning. You're being messed with. This is not good for you. This is not fear. This is just saying, wait a minute, somebody's not respecting you. Maybe you need to do something about it. Maybe you need to show them the door. Okay, so this attunement, this was an attunement because it was an energy transmission with that download. That was to counteract the fear. We're going, okay, wait, hold on a minute. What Alan's saying. All right. Now he says, we want you to think of something in your life that maybe you have fear about. Some of you could be fear of dying, or even fear of just living, like continuing to live because the world is so crazy right now. Whatever that fear might be. And if you don't have any fear, great. But you could also turn it over to your team and say, okay, is there something that I am unconscious about? Can you bring that to the fore? Can you bring that up for me? Maybe I don't know consciously what it is. If there's something related to fear that I need to clear, can you get me in touch with that? And I want you to just feel into your feelings. We're calling forth anything you might fear, any fear about anything. The fear of the water, fear of public speaking. Some people rather die than do public speaking. Literally, like, I'd rather die than get up on stage and talk. What are you afraid of? Because we want to liberate you, because that's holding you back. Any and all fear is holding us back. Any and all fear also impacts your ability to connect with the other side because they're fearless. So we want to do our best to match their vibration. So feel into that right now. And if you're not sure, just ask for healing of it. If you have any, ask your team to help you heal that. If you don't, again, if you don't feel any emotion, that's okay. But if you do, I'd like you to just feel it completely. Just really let it come in, like embrace it, go all in, dive into it. In fact, amplify it so that you can get through it and get on the other side of it. And your team is helping you clear that as you feel into it. Somebody just asked, are you allowed to ask? If you mean like in the chat, you're welcome to. I'm not necessarily going to acknowledge everybody's uh, comments, but you can. Just feel into what you're feeling and don't censor it. If you feel emotional, if you feel like crying, let the tears come. Just again, let yourself feel whatever you feel. And if you feel blocked, because I'm seeing some of you feel a little blocked, if you're in agreement with what I'm about to say, you might say, I'm willing to feel my feelings now, whatever they are. I'm willing to feel them. And just let the feelings come. Okay. I see I see your teams kind of taking the energy and just sweeping it away, like sweeping it away. Whatever pain, fear, sadness, grief, whatever emotion. It might not be fear. If it's fear, great, but we're going to deal with whatever negative emotion. Right. So someone just said that they're afraid of going against their religion. And I want you to understand that when it comes to any religion across the board, religions are all about control. They started off usually with good intentions, but religious power is one of the most distorted powers, as distorted as political power, right? Religious power is huge. It actually goes back further than politics, if you think about it. So those institutions are very corrupt. They're run by people in a body, humans in a body, and for the most part, okay, I'm not trying to be sexist here, but let's just be real. For the most part, they're run by men. Okay, so the male energy on the planet has always been about power and control. So you need to really be a bit suspect about all religions and take only what works, feels right to you, and leave the rest. No religion is perfect. No religion has all the answers. None of them. They're all flawed because they're run by human beings. And I want you to think about this because a lot of Christians will say that they'll put down channeling, things like that, and say that that's evil or work of the devil, whatever. But what do you think the Bible is? The Bible is the most well-known piece of channeled material that exists in the world. Maybe next to the Quran or any other religious doctrine. What do you think that is? God didn't descend from a cloud and present the Bible to the world. Came through humans and, well, came through men. So that means the words have been distorted. The words are self-serving to the ones who wrote them. And some good is in there and some distortion is in there, like it's all mixed up. It's not like it's all bad. So you've got to let go of your religious indoctrination. and bless it for how it served you for the time. Because the times you're living in now is about self-empowerment and about its ascension. So it means it's for you to understand that you are the power, you are the God, so is everybody else, not just you, and that you can go directly to source. They never wanted anyone to go directly to source because they found showing me a toll booth. They said, you got to pay to get to God. You got to pay to talk to God. You got to pay us to get the information you want. You can't go direct. I want you to really sit with that and think about that. That's the way the world has been for centuries. Come on. You can't look back at the quote history and say there was ever a time when this wasn't happening. He's saying from the time of Jesus and beyond, and it's still happening. It's just more um he says it's just dressed up better. Like the churches are ornate, and the everything is fancier than it was back in the time of Jesus when the church was outside, outdoors, because they didn't have a church. So it's still the same game. It's still the same game. Things were corrupt at the time of Jesus. That's why he was persecuted and crucified, and they're still corrupt. The same institutions, just dressed in better clothes, or a televangelist just bilking people for money. Power corrupts. That's just how it is. Right? Power corrupts people because of the human ego. Somebody would have to be enlightened to not be corrupted by it, and someone who's enlightened wouldn't run a church probably because he knows that that would be corrupt influence, and that the people around him would be giving over their power, and the enlightened being would know that I can't take your power, for that would corrupt my soul. I can't abuse my power because there's a consequence to me and to you. I have to treat you as I treat myself. So it's sad, and I'm saying there's always good people in any religion. I've met them. Really, I have. I've had friends in many different religions, and they're good people in all of them. And there's a lot of corruption and distortion among the rest. And so these are the times you're living in, where you can now understand that you're source, that you're God, and more people get it. So I would say examine that more, because you're not living even 30 years ago, right? You're living now in a time of greater awakening. So the reason for that. So embrace that and celebrate that and let go of the fear of, what's he showing me? He's saying religious control, and know that that has been governing humanity for centuries. The control of all those religions, that has to fall. That's why religions are kind of falling, because they're built on, the foundation they're built on is corrupt and distorted and ego-based. The ego has to fall away for us to enter the fifth dimension. And churches are all about ego. And Alan's saying, yeah, more so than politics. Politics is the same thing, but even more so than politics. But he's saying they're kind of almost on the same level of each other in terms of the power and control and manipulation. But religion is worse because it pretends to be saintly. That's where, government politics doesn't pretend to be saintly. It just doesn't. But religions do. And that's the really the disappointment in it. That's really the problem in it, that it's, I was talking about, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing. If you think you're getting something beautiful and loving, and you're not, you're getting something that's really a demon. That's really the demon. The ego is the demon. Okay, so take a deep breath in. We're going to close now because we've gone too long as usual. We're going to close now. And I want you to know that this attunement, this healing is going to keep running with some of you, maybe all of you, but with a lot of you for the next, I'm seeing 24, 48 hours. So this is going to be working on you. If you agree to it, if you don't want it, all you have to do is say, I don't want it. Leave me alone. You're the one in charge. We're just offering this. You're always free to say, I don't want it. This isn't for me today or ever. Thank you very much. If you're open to it, your team is going to keep working on you. You might sleep really well tonight, or you might not sleep well because the other side is really working with you and doing all kinds of things with you. Either one could happen. And Alan says, if that happens, don't blame us. It's your team and it's you saying, I'm all in. I want to work on this. I want to heal my fear. I want to feel lighter. I want to be free. So I'd say embrace it. Embrace it if you can. Okay, so we love you and appreciate you. We see your worth, your power, the truth of who you really are. We pray that you can see that too. And trust me when I say this to you, that when I speak to you for spirit, really, I mean, because I've always been a channel and the other side speaks through me, as they speak through many, many people. I'm not the only one. I'm never trying to say I'm the only one, but they speak through me, through many of us. And it doesn't mean that I don't have my human moments where I'm going, like I don't get it, or I'm worried, or I'm a little bit afraid of something. It's part of the journey. So don't ever get frustrated with yourself if you feel like you can't stay positive. You're not here for that. You're here to do your best with it. But if you ever do fall off the wagon, as Alan's saying, just be okay with it. You're here to be human and have that. And sometimes you need to grovel around in the mud and say, oh, yeah, this is how it is to be in a body, and realize, yeah, I don't want that anymore. And then get back in the groove, get back in the flow. Okay, get back into the truth of who you are. Ask the universe this open-ended question, because when you ask an open-ended question, the universe must answer it for you. I ask, just suggest that you ask this question tonight, or maybe even every day if you want to clear your fear. What would it be like if I lived without fear? What would it be like? Remember, we're not saying if you believe that, you're leaving yourself open for trouble. So let's add that. Let's add something to that to calm some of you down who are saying, wait a minute, if I'm not having fear, then I'm just going to walk in the front of traffic because I'm not afraid of being run over. No. Ask this question then if you're worried about that. What would it be like for me to live without fear because I'm always guided? What would it be like to live without fear, knowing that I'm always guided? What would it look like? What would it feel like to live without fear, knowing that I'm always guided? When you ask an open-ended question, the universe must answer by showing it to you, not telling you. I mean, you could get a message too, okay? But you're asking, what is it like? What does it feel like? So you're going to at some point feel what that is like. What would it be like? You're going to experience it in your reality, right? What would it feel like? What would it be like? So ask those questions. The universe always answers. Your job is just to pay attention. Because if you're not paying attention, it can right by you and you go, oh, wait a minute, I got a glimpse of that and I wasn't paying attention. So keep asking that. What would it be like to live without fear because I'm always guided? And if you're not sure you trust your guidance, then you can add to this. Okay, you can say, what would it be like to live without fear because I know I'm always guided? I believe I'm always guided. See how you can just adapt the wording to what you want, but you want to leave it open-ended. What would it be like? What would it feel like? What would it look like? If you want to see what it looks like in your reality. But all of that's the same. I mean, all the verbiage doesn't matter, because what would it be like or feel like or look like, or it's all it's an experience. Ask the universe to give you experience of that. Okay. So we're going to end now. This live, you can watch as many times as you want to clear your distortion of fear. It will work every time. As people who we've given attunements to know that. That's why we've actually recorded them. We have them in a membership program that we offer. We're going to open it again later, but right now people are still watching those attunements and gaining benefit from them, like healing themselves by watching or listening to them. So listen to this or watch the video, watch the replay, right? So have a great week. I know it's Tuesday, and next week, Tuesday, we'll be back again. But until then, we'll see you in the group, and we want you to remember who you really are, that you're a soul that has a body, okay? And that body's temporary, and you're perfect just as you are. You are safe because you are guided, and you cannot be destroyed, and neither can any of your loved ones. Right. So until next time, bye-bye.